Oy simcha v'sasoim bika. Ken tiye lo no. Ken tiye lo no. Oy simcha v'sasoim bika. Ken. Ay. La yudim, oy sayra, besera besasoy meka. La yudim, oy sayra. Shkoyach. Oy sayra, besera besasoy meka. La yudim, oy sayra. Oy besera. Ken tiye lo no. Oy besera besasoy meka. Ken tiye lo no. Oy simcha besasoy mika. Ken tiye lo no. Oy simcha besasoy mika. Ken. V'yala purkon, v'yala gvuros, v'yala tshuos, v'yala melchomot. Vayomim ohim bazman hazeh. Ala nisim, v'yala purkon, v'yala gvuros, v'yala melchomot. Shosisolavois. Vayomim ohim bazman hazeh. Ala nisim, v'yala purkon, v'yala gvuros, v'yala melchomot. Vayomim ohim bazman hazeh. Ala nisim hapurkon v'yala tshuos v'yala milchamos vayomim bazman hazeh. Let's go. Good Frelichin Purim. Lili nishma simi merosi rus bas Mordechai. Mishe nichnas odor. Marbim v'simcha. Mishe nichnas odor. Marbim. Adinoi Elohim al Cholom. Shakod nim dvarim. Refuah Shelama for a member of the MDY family, Shmuel Yosef Ben Devorah, wishing Reb Eli and the MDY chabura of Frelichin Purim. By Zvi Hanna Fein, in memory of Tzvi's mother's 6th yahartzein on Shushan Purim. Aטקה bas Zvi, Arya Hakoros וחנה Tzipora. Neshama have an Aliya. In honor of MDY opening up again. It's a tremendous simcha. We hope to stay and that people are still with us and still steigen away. It's not about the Daf, it's about the Yomi. Hashtag by Peter Piper, who picked the pickled peppers. Am I supposed to read that? By Yossi Hirsch, Moshe ben Mordechai, Zelig H'Cohen, by the Kamiansky family, sponsoring share in memory of the yahartzein of her grandmother, Mariah, that's how I pronounce it? Mariah Mendel, Bat, Zelig, Mendel? It says Mendel. You guys learn how to spell, Ponovichers. Mariah Mendel bat Zelig H'Cohen. Yahartzein is today. If somebody chooses to die, please don't do it on Purim. Loving wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Survivor of Auschwitz with unbreakable emunah. You see a tremendous family that she has. The Neshama should have an Aliya. In honor of our fearless leader, the Heilig Reb Eli, and all the lomdei Daf worldwide, brought to you by Ponovich Maths, the official maths of the Amaritz. This might be, I have no idea what this is, but I'm thinking that this might be Harry Shalom. Is it? Where are you? Harry Shalom?
I say nothing.
Yossi Hirsch is in the house, Rabbi Sai. Welcome to a bunch of guests. We have a bunch of new guests. We have David Holder from Chashmonaim. We have Rabbi Avram Zora from Kiryat Sefer. Who else? What's your name again? Remind me. Weich Broad. Simcha Weich Broad from? Scheinfeld. All the way from Scheinfeld. Who else do we have here? Oh! He's sitting right under my nose. Rabbanai from... all the way from Gimel. Nachman Seltzer's father-in-law, my ex-neighbor. He's a great neighbor when he was there. We said this already. Rabbi Sai, I just want to talk a little bit about Hakoros HaTov here. I received a number of Shalach Manas so far. This one was amazing. So far. I want to share this with you. This one came from the Toronto Chevra. There's a list of names here of all the guys from the Toronto Chevra. Alan Rabinowitz, from Arya, AJ Shur, Charlie Zalti, David Planka, Jay Spitzer, Meir Planka, Mechi Wurzberger, Michal Mann, Robert Libman, Shmuel Wolf, Yehuda Cohen, Sid Wellman, Rabbi. So this is nothing for Toronto. We got to have 1,000 times that amount. But anyway, this is the chabura. They sent me a beautiful bottle of wine with here, I have a picture of it actually. But one of these clocks, and it's engraved, and it says, I enlarged it here, to help keep track of your MDY family around the world. Happy Purim from the Toronto Chabura. And it says, we wanted to take this opportunity to thank you and the rest of your team for welcoming us into the MDY family. Tuning into your Daf Yomi on a daily basis has made a significant impact on each and every of our lives. And for that, we have a tremendous amount of Hakoros HaTov. Wishing you and your family happy Purim from the Toronto division of your MDY family. Rabbi Sai, another beautiful, beautiful thing. We don't know who it is, but we could assume that's some of the guys in New York. I really don't know who this is. But guys got together, a bunch of people got together. I know it's a lot of people. And they sent Shalach Manas to every single person of the MDY team, staff. The guys that work on a daily basis, they sent to me, they sent to Noam Fix, to Avi Kamiansky, to Gary, to Yosef Bilyak, to the two Seltzer boys that work the cameras up there, not related to Nachman Seltzer. To Moshe Hirsch, who does the R Merkaz. I want to show you what it looked like. Each person got a whole tray of bagels, tray of vegetables with tuna and this, a tray of muffins. Some didn't get this. A bunch of pizzas. Everybody got one of these. Amazing cakes. Amazing. Milchaka cake, like a ice cream cake. And it was very, very touching. The women really, really enjoyed it. They didn't have to work to make a meal for the tainus. So Yisher Koyach, wherever you are, you know who you are. I have a few, I don't know who everybody is. I have a little chashash, I don't know. Now, today is Purim. Today is not only Purim, it's Erev Shabbos. And this is what we are talking about. This is coming to learn Torah on one of the hardest days of the year. Purim, one of the busiest days. Erev Shabbos. We could have learned the daf yesterday. It's a shorter daf maybe. Kind of the end of the sugya, the end of kachim. Finally, we're done with kachim. Tomorrow's the last day. And we're going to Arvei Pesachim until the end of the Masechta. But we don't. We learn on every single day. The Limud Torah on Purim is, I don't know of another day that has such chashivas. There's koilalim here in Eretz Yisrael that they pay guys 1,000 shekel or whatever it is to learn for an hour or so because the chashivas of learning Torah on Purim, because no one, think about it, how many people right now are learning Torah in the world? Think about it. I don't know what the number is. There's very, very, very few people are learning right now. So we are upholding the world by learning Torah right now. And I want to give a tremendous Hakoros HaTov. This that they sent shalchmanis to the entire team gives me a lot of hana that people are taking care of everybody of the team. And here's another situation where people everywhere pitched in to help our personal kollel. We have the MDY kollel. There are a bunch of avrechim who learn with tremendous asmada. Literally, there's no schmoozing during Seder. There's just learning and chazering. They go home and they chazer more because they have very, very difficult tests. It's 30 daf a month with the hardest questions. We know Yedidya Kramer is a genius. He never scored less than 100 on a test in his life. On the Dirshu tests, he never gets more than a 96, 97, and it hurts him. And when we were recording here in the Beis Medrash, the Dirshu video, you might see it soon, I asked the guy, he's one of the top guys in Dirshu, and I said, how is it that my chavrusa didn't score 100? He said, how much did he score? I said, 96. He said, that's 100. We never, ever give a person 100. We always do a 96. They make it extremely, extremely difficult. Their biggest trick is they ask you the pshat in the second pshat of Rashi that nobody's goyrus and nobody cares about. That's the question they always ask you. They always try to trip you up. Fine. So that's what these guys are doing. They're learning Basma. And I said a word. I said, let's try to give some matanis levyonim. 2 people, 22 people donated. 2 out of the 22 people gave $5,000 each. So Be'ezer Hashem, we're going to be able to give a beautiful amount to the Avreichim. Library, don't get too excited. It's not for you. Which reminds me of Maisa that Shkamat Hoya last year. A guy was telling me about, what?
Last year was the hair transplant.
The hair transplant, yeah. I'll tell you in a second what happened this year. Last year, a guy came to me and told me about this tremendous ani that he has. He was giving tzedakah to, tremendous ani. I can't afford a thing. He was so proud of himself. He was mekayim the mitzvah matanas levyonim. So I said, who is he? I want to give him. He says, no. I can't give you the name because if I give you the name, next year he won't be an ani and I won't be to the mitzvah. So he kept it for himself. So that's the fear over here that with all this money coming in, Baruch Hashem, these avreichim, and I said it over the joke in the kollel and they started laughing. I was thinking to myself, these guys think they're not avyonim. It's funny. It's whatever. That guy's an avian. He's not going to be an avian. Yeah, okay, fine. But all these avreichim, they're people that gave up from their life. They could all go to business. They all have good heads, and they said they want to sit and learn Torah. So it's very much appreciated. Everybody was mishtatif in that. Here, I took a picture last night of them learning in this Beis Medrash right here. They came. It was on condition they'll get a stipend if they come and learn for an hour at night when everybody's partying. They came and they learned. Here are most of the guys in the kollel. What? Why is it against the Seger? 1,000 meters. What are you talking about? Judah, come on, against the. Your mask off your nose is against the rules. That's what's against the rules. Look at him, Rabbi Yosef with the mask off the. Last night, a very scary thing happened. The two characters who put up the Nachman, stop looking at the clock. You know we're going to finish in time. What are you worried about? Every 2 seconds he's looking. Are we starting?
Speech about learning on Purim, and then there's no learning on Purim.
There's going to be plenty of learning. You're going to plenty of learning. Wow. So the guys that put plastered my face on the buses in Bet Shemesh, and then we had the whole Neshama, they show up at my house with these smirks. It's like, what's going on? And they gave me this bottle. And they said, take a whiff. And I took a whiff. I almost passed out, literally. They made, and they opened it up in front of my wife and other people that were there. They made a kutach, a real kutach, sour, but real sour milk. Here's the grossest part of it. They're done doing it. They said, no, take a bite. I said, absolutely not. I almost threw up, literally, by smelling it. They started eating it. I'm not kidding you. I saw that. I was sick in the bathroom the entire night. I'm not joking. From watching those two guys. Not MS and Maisa. I don't know. It could be from other things. I was sick. I'm going to attribute it to that. All right, Rabbi Yisrael, real quickly. Before we start, I want to tell you a little bit of a vart on Purim. It says in the Medrash that Haman, when he was sent to get Mordechai, so he went to look for him. So he goes to the Beis Medrash. Where's Mordechai in the Beis Medrash? And they said, oh, he's not available. He's davening right now. This is the Medrash. So he says, okay, and what are you guys doing? He says, we're learning. What are you learning? So we're learning about the Omer. If you think about it, those 3 days, Tzumulai, Shloisha Yom, whatever, those 3 days were the Leil HaSeder. Started Leil HaSeder, Haman got killed on the second day of Pesach. So they were learning about the Omer. So he says, what's the Omer? So we take some grain and we give it to Hashem. Yeah? So, Chodesh, Asma. So he says, what kind of grain? Wheat? No, barley. Inferior barley. What? It's like a truckload? No, it's a small amount. And the Medrash describes how you go from that small amount and you take a kaimitz, you take a small handful, and that's what you give a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he said, with one kmitza, with one handful, you destroyed my 10,000 shekel kesef. And the yisoid is that Amalek goes for the big thing. He wants to kill all the Jews, 10,000. It's big. Everything's big. We the Jews, we go daf by daf. The small amounts are what count. This one person counts. And there's a Gevaldika Maisa. I saw Rabbi Galinsky talks about it. Heard it from other people. There's a Maisa in Russia. They wanted to overthrow the Tsar over there, and there's one Cheverman, one big character, and he did a uprising against him. You know the Maisa? It's not in your book. This uprising, say Bekitz and Nimrods, and they try to catch this guy. They want to kill him, and he was very elusive. And one day they see him in a wagon, and the chase was on. He realizes it's no good, so he gives the horse one last whack, and the horse speeds up. And as he speeds up, he jumps into the bush. The Russians chase the empty carriage, and they catch up to it, and they stop the carriage. And they realize he's not in there, so they go back. Meanwhile, this guy knocks on a door, and he knocks on a Jewish door. He says, "You got to save me. You got to save me." So the guy says, "Come in." He says, "Listen, take off everything you have, and put on this talus, the tefillin, stand by the wall, and just go like this." They knock on the door. He says, "Is the guy here?" He says, "No." So let's go. They look in. They see a guy davening Shemoneh Esrei. They go weiter. Years later, this Jew gets a letter. He says, "Come to the palace." And sure enough, he comes there. What's going on? He thought they wanted to kill him. He finds out that this guy that he saved is the king, is the new leader of Russia. And he told him, he said, "You thought that you saved one guy. You should know you saved the entire Russia." So Rabbi Galinsky said that guy actually saved a big part of Klal Yisrael. Why? It says later on, in Tov Reish Pei Aleph, 18 Bachrim from Novardok try to jump the fence in Russia, the border, and it's punishable by death, and they weren't successful. They caught all 18 Bachrim. And then they had a big problem on their hands, and I think they went to Reb Chaim Oizer. Reb Chaim Oizer said, "Go speak to that Jew." That Jew went, and he got that letter from the king, whatever you want, Sheila Seich, Ubakosha Seich. He said, "I want you to free these guys," and they freed them. Rabbi Galinsky said that one of those guys was Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, the Stipler, who happens to be Reb Chaim Kanievsky's father. And he didn't save Russia. He saved Klal Yisrael, so to speak. So the point is that, just as a word for Purim, the small things are what count. A daf here, a daf there, coming to shir, coming to learn Torah right now on Purim. Not only do you save yourself, you make yourself a better person, and you improve the quality of your family and everybody that surrounds you. You're saving Klal Yisrael. You're saving the world of Frelichin Purim. So we are in middle of a sugya here, and we are 6 lines from the bottom by the wide line. Iked the Masla Reisha Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. What is going on here?
Beautiful print. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The new printer that we got, it prints. It's unbelievable. You could almost tell the difference between the two different printers. We had a big machlokes, if you could tell. Not.
I don't think we had a machlokes. You're still using the original link.
Oh, no, this is different. This is Epson. This is different. Top of the line. I'm not exaggerating. I should have brought a picture. The box that the printer came in was the size of almost a fridge, and I showed my wife. Literally, she. So where are you putting that thing? The kids said you couldn't get through the door. We had to open it outside. The whole night. Okay. Anyway, that's for different. We spoke enough. This is what we had yesterday. Pshat, and Rebbe Kiva says Pshat, and Rebbe Shua says I forgot. It says Rebbe Kiva. If this is the original Korban Pesach, one, you found him. And after you found him, you made a chabura. You said, this fat guy should be instead of the skinny guy, or even skinny for skinny, doesn't matter. And then you take the Pesach number 2 that you set aside, because you lost 1. So meanwhile you put 2. And then you shechted it. So you found it, you did the chabura, then the shechita came at the end. The halacha is yira. You let it graze. Okay. However, if you first shechted the second one, because that's what you're supposed to do, and then you found the first one, so there's nothing wrong here. You didn't do anything wrong. You shechted 2 when you're supposed to shecht 2. Then you found, and then you did tmura, so that's good. You could be makriv it. You don't have to let it graze and fall on. What's not discussed here is a third case. And that's the case that Rav is discussing, and there's 2 lashonos in Rav. That's what we're discussing right now. What happens if you found 1, but rather than doing tmura, you did shechita to 2, and then you did tmura? What's going on here? It's a third case. Found shechted tmura. The tmura goes on this guy. Tmura is on him. But the problem is that by the time the tmura occurred, this is worthless. You already shechted number 2. And when you shecht 2, what are you doing to 1? You doicha him. You're pushing him away. He's available to do shechita. You found him. So why did you do shechita to him? He was the original. You should have done shechita to 1. By you doing shechita to 2, you pushed 1 away. Now you have something that's dochi, pushed away. And then you do tmura. What happens? 2 lashonos in Rava. One is, it's dochi. This becomes like this. This is dacha, it's pushed off. So tmura is always identical. When I say this should be instead of this, so we punish and we say both this and this are both korbanos, but this is identical. Or the second lashon rav is no good. You can't make this a tmura on this because this is already pushed off. Once it's pushed off, it's not available to become a Korban Pesach anymore. This is a pushed off guy. A pushed off guy you can't do tmura to. So if I say this is tmura instead of this, what should happen? Says Rava, karev shlamim. One lashon is that you make it's pushed off. The other lashon is no, it's not pushed off. It's actually a carbon. So let's see inside. It's not exactly like it. I hear what you're saying. It's not exactly like it, but it's enough that because you said it's a carbon. At the end of the day, you said it's a carbon. Ike de masni law aseifa. Got it? Right, Areisha. I'm just looking over here. Okay. Rabbi said Chabarain. This is the last 2 daf. We did almost 40 daf of Kachim. The last daf. So Ike de masni law Areisha. Ha-Pesach shenimtza koidem shchitas ha-Pesach. You found the Korban Pesach. You found him. Here he is, the original. Before you did a shechita. Omar Rava comes Rava and says, this case right over here. Matzah, and then you did tmura, then you did shechita. But what if you did matzah, shechita, tmura? Like right over here. That's different, says Rava. Shlamim. So this is the second lashon. Yesterday we did the first, now we're in the second one. You bring it as a shlamim. My taima, What's the logic behind this? I can't force my tmura on something that's not available for a Korban Pesach. After you shecht the second one, you do tmura on the Pesach, so you make it a shlamim. Yachal af lefnei Pesach came. So if the tmura it got lost and you found it before the shchita, the second one should become a shlamim. Tamaloymar hu karev ve'ein tmuras haPesach kreva. By the way, I don't like Noam is not here. That's dangerous. What's going on? Okay, that's what happened. Wow, it's a mazel that didn't happen to me. He took it from me. Okay, it happens. No, I saw him here before. He left. I thought maybe he's going to do some shtick or something. I got nervous. Okay, good. Talmud loymar hu karev ve'ein tmuras haPesach kreva. Heichidami, says the Gemara. Abai is asking Rav, what's going on here? If everything occurred before shchita, the whole tmura happened before shchita, pshita, that's called dachui. This case right over here. Again, he found him, did tmura. He had no right to do tmura. He had no right not to shech the first one. He's the original. You have to shech the original. And then he went and he shechted the second one. So this one is pushed off. Sorry. What's the case here? Right. If he found him before shchita, pshita, lama likra. I don't need a pasuk for that. Elalav shenimtza koidim shchita, vehemer boy achar shchita. Rava's case. What's the big chiddush? Rava's case. This third case where he found him and he shechted the second one, and only afterwards he did tmura, and that's the chiddush. The Gemara says it's such a beautiful raya that it's a big kasha on Rava on the second lashon of Rava. Elamai, the first lashon makes more sense to Yufta. Omar Shmuel. Now, a brand new sugya. A good sugya, geshmaka sugya. Kol shebechatos meisa bepesach karev shlamim. Comes Shmuel and says a klal, a yisoid, a siman. It has zero to do with each other, but it's a siman. Halacha Mishim Sinai tells us that there are 5 types of chatois that are destined to die. You put them in a room, you let them die. What are they? If a chatos has offspring, that offspring has to die. Does that apply to Korban Pesach? That was the riddle we had a long time ago. No. Korban Pesach has to be a zachar. So this is not negayat us. Tmuras chatos, we just discussed tmura. If you have a chatos, a beautiful chatos sitting on the side, designated, and you say this second animal should be instead of it, the second animal is destined to die. Somebody designates a korban chatos and the owner dies before bringing the korban chatos. You do not bring the korban chatos, destined to die. Kipru balel, if, let's say the chatos ran away, you brought a second one, and you were makriv of the second one, and then all of a sudden the first one shows up, dies. Avrosh Nasa. We're going to be discussing the fifth one basically. Avrosh Nasa is, it got too old to bring. It's more than a year old, let it die. Says Shmuel a siman, if you have any of these things in a Korban Pesach, what's the halacha? Shlamim. Who said that? Oh, Chatas Shemesa. So the chatos has to die. You see, you chain it down or whatever you do to it. So in the same situation, it's a shlamim. Another siman, he says, a chatos raya. If the chatos, we tell it, the halacha is, let it go graze and befall a mum. Once it has a mum, I could sell it, take the money, and buy korbanos with it. Then the same thing happens to a Pesach. Raya equals raya. Raya by a chatos equals raya by a korban Pesach. So let me just tell you what's going to happen here. Number one, this falls away. This never exists. We're going to get rid of this siman. Number two, this whole siman only applies to one case. Basically, it's a case that the animal got lost. It's basically over here. The animal got lost, and we found it. And there's a machlokes between Shmuel, one small machlokes. We find an animal. What makes this animal dachui? What pushes off of the animal? The shchita or chatzos? Does that sound familiar? Yes, because that was the machlokes we had yesterday between Rabbi and Reb Zera. So that's the machlokes here. One case where you lost an animal, you found the animal, according to Shmuel, it dies, and memela, if that happened by a chatos, it dies. Memela by a Pesach, it's a shlamim. According to Rebbe, no. There's a possibility that I found my animal after chatzos, but before I shechted it. According to Shmuel, there's no such thing. No, you always kill a chatos like that. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, I have an opportunity right after chatzos, because it's not chatzos that determines and locks in my animal, it's the shchita. Yeah? So if it's the shchita, I have a little bit of a window where I don't kill it. Fine. Chatzos and shchita. What did I say? Did I say something else? Okay. So not in other words, in the same words. Okay. Just making sure. Zog the Gemara Shmuel. Now, the only thing is that the Gemara is going to go through a little bit of a ride here. For some people it's bumpy, some people it's smooth. It's a ride. To get to that, to understand that Shmuel only gave us one siman. It's not a halacha. There's no comparison to the chatas and the pesach. There's nothing. It's just a siman for you to remember. If one day you forgot, one day, less than a month from now, Mashiach comes, is this chatas that got lost because so many korban, could I bring it or not bring it? So remember, korban pesach, I said chatas. Korban pesach. So remember, whatever the halacha is by chatas, that's the halacha, says Shmuel, by korban pesach. But not because they're similar or anything. It's just for you to remember in your head. In that case, the chatas dies, korban pesach is a shlamim. All right, says the Gemara. Kol shebechatas meisa, bepesach korban shlamim. That's rule number one. The chol shebechatas roya, but if you let the animal live, green, gets the green light, and it can graze, bepesach nami roya. So the same halacha applies to korban pesach. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, eina pesach korban shlamim, ela shenimtzo achar shchita. Avakoidim shchita. Loi. So you see right over here, if we stop right over here, you see that Rabbi Yochanan is talking about shchita, which would tell me that Shmuel is talking about chatzos. What's the determining factor? What locks my korban in? Rabbi Yochanan says, it's only shchita. And Shmuel says something different. So it has to be that Shmuel says it's chatzos. Matzkel Rabbi Yosef Klalu. You tell me a klal. This klal down here, let's talk about the second klal. Anything that grazes by a chatos, grazes by a korban pesach. Bari chatos, she'over shnasa, deleria azla. Whoa. If a chatos is more than a year old, what happens to it? So we just had a thing here. It's in the list of chatos that die. It's the last one. Over shnasa dies. But what does the Gemara say here? It grazes. So you have to stick in that we're talking about this list that it dies when it gets lost is because it got lost. It not only is it over shnasa, but it also got lost. Or what does Rashi say? V'nimtzis balas mum. That's a little bit more. Fine. It's not as simple as this list says. There's something else added to over shnasa because right over here it says. Over shnasa, if the chatas turned 2 years old, you let it graze. You don't kill it. We view it like you're a kohen and the animal's in a basic forest. Guess what? If an animal is in a cemetery, the kohen has no way to get it. Stuck. So meila, viraya, let it just graze. Again, what's the rule? The rule is, if it's a chatos, it grazes. By korban pesach, it grazes. What should the halacha be over here? If it got lost, graze. What is the halacha? Shlamim. Big problem. Remember, we had this yesterday. So we have some freebie lines over here that we already did. It's very interesting. Aliya, tail, has to do with Purim. Vashti, tail. Why not? It's better than Vishki. What was yesterday? Shavisky. The island didn't like Shavisky yesterday. They were in a bad mood. So it's not Purim. It's not true. What? Whoa. What does Shavisky stand for? Shavisky. Shabbos Regel. 10 minutes. Rabbi Isai, where are we going today? You want to go deliver those shachmanas? You want to go to your kid's Rebbeim's house? I don't think so. I didn't think so. Shoy Merim Kesev LeRabbois Es HaPesach Sha'avra Shnasai. LeRabbois, hear this. LeRabbois HaPesach Sha'avra Shnasai. This is what we're talking about. Ushlam Abba Machmas Pesach L'chol Mitzvah Shlamim. Shitunim smicha. You have to lean with all your might. Unesachim and pour the wine. Nuvas Chazav Shaik. Wave it like a lulav up, right and left in all directions. Shoymer Meis. So then why does the Torah talk about a goat all of a sudden for 5 psukim? Limit Allah Eis, Shein Ton Aliya. Great. So, you see Shlamim, not Roya. He says Roya equals Roya. If by Chatas it's a Roya, you have graze by Pesach also. Over here it says no, it's a Shlamim. Amalei, Kikom Shmuel, we're going to stop, we're going to make an upshot here. It's part of the ride. Kikom Shmuel ba'avudim. Okay, forget it. We're done with this list. It's not, the siman is not everything on the list. No. These are all dachi, these are pushed off. That's not what he was talking about. He's only talking about something that got lost. One case, and we're going to stay with that. That's the end of the sugya also. We're talking about a case of an animal got lost. If an animal got lost by a chatos, and you have to kill the animal because it got lost, you found it later, so by a Pesach, you don't kill it, you let it live, you bring it as a shlamim. As the Gemara of Avim Mishkachas Law, what's the case of Avod? Of got lost. If it got lost, the Lariya Azla, it goes to graze, no shlamim. This not. You're telling me it's a case of getting lost? It doesn't make sense. If you designated your chatas v'avda and got lost, and you designated a second one, and then all of a sudden you find the first one, and now you have 2. You have a choice. The original one or the second guy, 2. Which one do you do? Whatever you want. Achas mem tikrav ushniya tamus. Divrei Rebbe. Only Rebbe says that it dies. That would be very good according to Shmuel. Shmuel would also say, if it dies by a chatos, then it becomes a shlamim by a Pesach. But we have to finish. It says, it doesn't die. Only if you found it after you brought the second one as a kapara. But you let it graze. You let it graze. So it doesn't fit. Says the Gemara, Shmuel, Kirebi Svirlei. Shmuel is going to go like we started off the Bryce, like Rebbe, that it dies. If it gets lost, it dies. For the Gemara, that's very nice. It sounds great. It's a good solution for a second. If it got lost before Chatzos and it was found before Chatzos, Roya. What is that? That's a pushed off guy. It was found before Chatzos, and anyway, you didn't care that you found your original carbon. You should have brought the original. No, you brought the second one, so you just pushed it off. The halacha is, it's dachui. Dachui, it's Roya. And what happens if it's Roya? Roya equals Roya. And what does Shmuel say? Shlamim. So it doesn't fit. Says the Gemara, I have a good answer though. You're telling me that it's lost. It's not lost. Because anything that gets lost before Chatzos, and in other words, let's say it got lost at night, and you found it before morning, that's not considered lost. Why? Because it's not royally carbon. It's not royally carbon. I heard somebody say yesterday in the Kollel, because you can't find it. I don't know if that's true. It's dark. It's not royal carbon, says Rashi. It's not considered an Aveda. Fine. Says the Gemara, okay. So it's a nice answer. That what? That this Aveda that you're talking about before Chatzos, if it happened before Chatzos, it doesn't count at all. So wait a minute, then there's no case of letting an animal go to graze. According to Rebbe, every animal should die. Why? Because if it was found before, like if it got lost during the night, we just established anything that's lost during the night is not considered an Aveda, so it doesn't graze. If it got lost and it was found during the day, what does Rebbe say? Destined to die. So what is the case of Raya? I know Rabbi said this is one of these sugyas HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. It's not that you're drunk. It's the last daf of Kachim over here. Ari Pesachim is coming up. Did you see what's going on in Ari Pesachim? Take a look for a second. Dap him like this.
It won't make a difference.
It won't make a difference. I'll make sure of that. Says the Gemara. So how does Rebbe have a case of grazing? Rabbi said, by the way, I didn't say Reb Shaya. Reb Oishaya. Stop. Rabbi Shaya. Rabbi Oishaya. Guess what? There's no sponsor for the turning of the page anymore. Yes. If you want to stir the oilam, send it in. Yosef is waiting for you. Yeah, you giving $1,000 right now, Gary? You said it. Huh? You sure? You want what? Whoa! I forgot about the Zoom guys. They're watching on Zoom. Wow. Eli Dykman on Zoom. Eli Dykman from Borough Park.
That makes us feel a lot better. Forgot about it.
Okay, what are we supposed to say? Eli, what are we saying?
L'chaim,
L'chaim. Yishkoyach for not sending Shalach Manas, Mordechai Ashkenazi. Yishkoyach for not sending to the whole team. I don't know. I have a feeling. I don't know. I seriously don't know. And the funny thing is that people were sending me thank yous. I took it. Like Yossi be like, thank you. You don't understand what you did for my wife with that. Shkoyach, I took it. Sorry, Yosef. I didn't pay for it. Somebody else. No, I told him right away. I got Avi. No, I'm the only. What?
When there's no turn to Daf, you remember. But when there is, you forget.
There's a reason. Eli Dykman, you sponsored the turning of the daf for the whole month without mentioning anything. We'll say it now in Purim. No. I'm not doing it.
I saw him drinking. He's been drinking. He had a nice big glass.
All right, so it doesn't count. You'll have to do official. You have to do exactly. If you say something to say, then we'll do it. The Omar Rabbi Shaya, Hifrish. So what is the case of grazing? The Omar Rabbi Shaya. Rabbi Shaya, that's it. Take his things away. He became a, what is it called? He became a host one day in Shalom Yisrael. It's all over. It was your last day, Mark. The Omar Rabbi Shaya, Hifrish Techatois Lachrayus. A guy was nervous. He had a brisker guy. He didn't know if one is going to live, not live. So he made two of them a chatas, just in case one of them goes bye-bye. Miskaper ba'achas mehem ushniya tira. I don't know if you had the question. As soon as I read this, I couldn't believe what I read. Because the whole sugya is talking about, according to Shmuel, what is the case? Jonathan, what is the case according to Shmuel? A thing that got lost. And all of a sudden, we're coming up with a crazy new case. Nothing to do with lost. So Taisus actually, Rashi asked the question. Taisus doesn't like Rashi's answer. Rashi says, the Gemara has a better question. But Taisus says that's not the style of the Gemara to say something that's completely off. We're not in the same boat at all. Fine. He claims, Taisus says that there's a little bit of a lost here. You have to stick in a little bit lost. Anyway. So this is a case. Is this a case of anything being pushed off? No. Because why? Both of these chatois were there at the same time. No, neither of them pushed off neither of them pushed the other one off. So there's no dichoy. And therefore we have a case of shniya tira. Here's a case that one of them grazes. Ask Gemara, v'yilu b'pesach yagavno karv shlamim. But this case, same exact case in the Korban Pesach, I designate two korbanos Pesach in case one of them gets lost, So I bring one, and the other one is a shlamim. It's not a case of roya equals roya. Over here, roya equals shlamim. No good. Elo Shmuel Reb Shimon Svirle. The Omar Chomesh Chatois Meisois. Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon that no matter what, in every single situation, there's no situation, every single situation, the chatos dies. It doesn't matter when you found it, where it happened, it always dies, and there's no roya. V'ha roya l'Reb Shimon les le klal. So therefore, he has one siman. Where is it? Here we go. So this is what I was saying all the way in the beginning. Shmuel has one siman. You want to know what you do with the Korban Pesach? If you kill the chatos, then the Pesach becomes a shlamim. This, erase. There's no roya, there's no such thing. Forget about roya. There's no grazing. Says the Gemara, Shmuel Namechalik Omar, Kol shebechatos meisa bepesach korev shlamim. He only said one chiddush. But what's the big chiddush? Just to fight with Rabbi Yochanan, to argue with him. Rabbi Yochanan says that it has to do with the shchita, so if you find it after the shchita, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the determining factor is the shchita. Kamash Malan says Shmuel, no, it's the chatzois that's koiveya. That's when it becomes a full-fledged korban, and anything else afterwards is dachui. Lishna achrina. Now, this lashon that I mentioned, I mentioned chatzois. Who says chatzois? So yesterday we had a whole machlokes in the Gemara. What determines? Is the chatzois or shchita? It's Rab and Reb Zera. So until now we've said it goes according to Reb Zera. No, new lashon, which we're going to push off right away, and that will be the end of today's daf. We're going to the Mishnah. Listen, how much time do we have? It's only 8 o'clock. Okay, it's Purim. We got to go weiter. We got to learn more Torah. Whoever wants to stay on for another daf, I'm not going to be here. Lishna achrina, vilu bepesach, heichid da'ovad, v'nimsu acha chatzois koidim shchita, yikrav shlamim. Shmuel, says the Gemara, kirabes virle, the omar shchita kava. What's the determining factor? Shchita. What's the immediate question that you would probably ask yourselves? If Shmuel holds that shchita is the determining factor, so what is he arguing with Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan comes to say something different. It's all about shchita. So Rabbi Yochanan is saying that the determining factor is shchita. That's what the first dig that we made in the sugya. Shmuel obviously is arguing. He doesn't say specifically, but he's obviously arguing on Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, Shmuel. It's the shchita that, so that means that Shmuel holds, it's not the shchita that determines, it's the chatzais. Ella, you're right. Shmuel, Gerebi Svirle. Domar, Avudel Misa Azla. If it gets lost, it dies. Vaha, Kol Avudim L'Rebbe Mason. Vilu Bepesach Eicha Da'avad Koydem Chatzais. V'nimtza Koydem Chatzais. Roya. According to Rebbe, that exact case would graze, not die. So now we're going to go back to that other answer, that if it got lost, it doesn't graze. Why? Because it never got lost. Anything before chatzos is not considered lost. So Shmuel holds chatzos is the determining factor. Bottom line is, what's the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel? In that one case, where it gets lost, and you find it, what determines? When did you find it? Is it the shchita that determines that it's dachui, or is it chatzos that determines that it's dachui? Shmuel holds it's chatzos. So there's never a situation in the world where you take that animal and let it graze, because no matter what, you have to kill it. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, you wouldn't kill it. Why? Because between chatzos and let's say you shecht it at 2 o'clock, you have that little window over there that if you do find it, you let it graze. Have a beautiful Purim. We'll see you tomorrow. Adonai Shema b'Koli Dinei Zelig H'Cohen Adonai Ima b'Nei Shema Yad Dinei Mi'amoy Kimcha Slicha L'Mati Borei Sheila the Loim Shemina Boyke Shemina Boyke. Kaisala the Loim Nalbaya Chesva Bay Magdos. Days is on for Ben Sova can go to Israel and soon be so she be on the Bemba Yom Bemba Yabosh Mokim after the Simus on the Ribbon Mar on May.